Hey guys, Saint Edwards back. Welcome to the Ski channel, Swift Coding for Everyone. We're on to lesson 2.10 in the book App Development with Swift. We're going to talk about auto layout and stack views. In these first few videos, we're going to talk about auto layout. And auto layout is a very important part of app development because when you're building apps, you typically want them to look good, obviously. You want them to look good, and you want them to look good in all different types of or sizes of the iOS devices, and you also want them to look good in portrait and in landscape orientation. And what auto layout is basically a set of rules called constraints that help you make sure everything is set up properly and aligned properly and proportional as well. So what we're going to do is start a new project, Xcode project called Auto Layout Practice. Save it to your projects folder, and we're going to get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to search button in the object library. We're going to drag it to the top left hand corner of the screen, and we're going to make sure that the buttons or the blue dotted lines pop up. We're just going to leave it there. And just and down here at the bottom in our debug area or console area, on the side where it says view as iPhone. So go up and down the chain and just see how the button looks and appears as you go up and down the different iOS devices. All right, and just notice how the button changes, or how it looks different, I should say. Still the same size and everything, but it just looks different. All right, we're gonna go back to the iPhone 8. And now let's put it in the center. All right, to where the blue lines, the cross hairs meet. All right, so we're gonna leave it there. All right, and if you do the same thing, you'll see that, it's the same, everything is centered. But once you do this, so now I want you guys to change the orientation to landscape and see what happens. So now that we did it in landscape, the button moved. And you're thinking, why is that? Well, it's because we don't have any, rules or constraints set for it. So it's just moving about freely. All right, so we have to fix that. So we're going to go back to our portrait view on the iPhone 8 or whatever iPhone that you are working on. And we're going to set these constraints. And this is where auto layout comes in. All right, so we're going to make sure it's in the middle, but we're also going to go down here to the align menu, down here at the bottom, the one that looks, it's two rectangles, one smaller than the other, the smaller one's on top. So we're going to click on that align button, and we're going to say horizontally in container and vertically in container. So this is in regards to the view itself. So it's center in the center of the button, vertically and horizontally to the center and horizontal axis of the view. All right, and so now we've got all blue lines, so it's all set up. So no matter how you change it now on any device, portrait or landscape, let's give it another shot on the view as section of the Xcode console down here. So we're gonna do that and see now that we changed it into landscape, it's still the same, still in the center. And going to a different device, now I'm on an iPhone X, it's still in the center, and then if I go portrait, it's in the center as well. So that's the power of using the constraints, okay? So now what I want you guys to do is, so we are going to change this up a bit. So let's say if you only wanted to use constraints for the size. All right, so I'm going to delete, so let's delete these two constraints. So highlight them over in the document outline and make sure the button's highlighted. So what we're going to do now is we're going to give it a background color so you can kind of see the difference. You can give it whatever color you like. I'm going to go with this purple color here. All right, so let's say we wanted the size of this button, the width in particular, to be the same no matter what device we were on. So let's give it some arbitrary numbers. So let's go to the add new constraints menu, which is just the the square surrounded by two vertical lines. We're going to click on that button. And so what we're going to do is we're going to set the leading, which is the left side over here, and the trailing, which is the right side. We're going to give it some numbers. So let's say we wanted to go 30 from the left, 30 pixels from the left, and we want it to be 40 pixels on the right. Now, you know that these constraints will be activated because the line or the dotted the dotted line went from dots to a solid red line. That's how you know that they're activated. So now all we have to do now is hit add these two constraints, hit that button. And we have some red surrounding it, but that's okay for this exercise. So we're just looking to see, the change in the width. So as you go up and down the different devices, you can kind of see, well, first of all, how odd it is, but because, the numbers are off. But, the width is having to change. So right now we're on the iPhone SE. So we're at 250 as the width, as you can see. And then we go down to the 4S, it's still the same. But when you hop up to the iPhone X, let's see what we got. So now the width is at 305. And then if you go at the 8 Plus, the width is at 344. And it'll just keep getting bigger and bigger. All right, so I'm going to go back to the 8. And I'm going to go back to the attributes inspector. All right, so that was that. And now the next thing we want to do is we want to get rid of this button for the time being. So we can delete that button. And now let's add a label to the screen. So go back to the object library. We're going to drag a label out onto the screen. And let's put it, and let's ignore the constraints. We're going to put it at the very top left-hand corner. And we're going to stretch it all the way out, the width. And let's put something long. Put a long sentence inside the label. So I'm going to attempt to spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I don't know. I know that's wrong. So I'm going to increase the font a little bit. All right, so now that we have it in the very top, so let's go ahead and run our app and let's see what happens. All right, as you can see, our word or whatever sentence that you may have put in there, it's being cut off by the status bar, and that's not good. We don't want that. So you want to make sure you're paying attention to the status bar. So if you were to drag your label down toward the center a little bit and then go back up toward the top, the blue lines will pop back up and it'll kind of tell you where to stop. So right there, so right where those crosshairs are, I'll zoom in a little bit. See the dots popped up. So that's telling us that this is the space reserved for the status bar. And also, if you were to click over here at the document outline and you were to click on the safe area, everything is highlighted except for this white part up here. And that white part is just letting us know that this part is reserved for the status bar. So you want to leave that area alone because you don't want your app to be cut off and people can't see their time, their battery life, and their connections. It's not a good look. And also Apple will probably say something too. It probably won't even be accepted because you're not following the human interface guidelines. All right. And so we're going to do that. We don't want to do that. All right. So we're going to get rid of this label. All right. So go ahead and hit delete. And we're going to put the button back on the screen. and we want to simulate some. We want to simulate an issue. So go ahead and put the button back in the center of the screen, vertically and horizontally. And let's go ahead and pin it again. So go ahead and do horizontally in container and vertically in container and hit add to constraints. All right, and we also want to, with it still highlighted, we want to go over to the add new constraints menu. And let's just say, let's go ahead and say we want to do, let's say 20 from on the left again, and we'll go 30 on the right. Okay, and now we're going to hit add to constraints. And whoa, look at this, look what happened. So we got a whole bunch of red in there now. So if you were to click on this red arrow over here in the document outline, it's going to take you to where the issues are. So we've got an issue with the X. All right, and so if you were to click on this red, on the red circle or red octagon, it'll bring it up some more. You can see it. It says select one or more constraints to delete. Is giving us some advice. So it's saying button.center X is center X, and button.leading equals safe area.leading plus 20, and then the trailing plus 30. So there's a conflict basically with the X position. Okay, and it can't do both. Xcode can't do both, so we gotta get rid of something. All right, so right now, so what we want to do is select something that we want to get rid of, and we can just say, so let's say we want to get rid of the button.center X equals center.x or center X. So let's do that, and let's hit delete constraints and see what happens. All right, so now it's not conflicting anymore. So sometimes that may happen in your apps, and you can, an Xcode will suggest some things to you, and that tool is available, for you to use. But it's just always good to know, kind of like what you want, going into things, and not always, basing everything off of the suggestions on Xcode, because sometimes you can get jacked up. All right, so now let's get rid of these two. All right, so over in the size inspector, you can delete the constraints this way. So I'm gonna show you how. So you can hold shift and you can highlight one of them. So I got the 20 highlighted right now. If you hold shift, it'll do both of them, and then you can just hit delete. That's one way you can do it. And actually, you know what? Let's just delete the whole button. Delete the whole button. And let's bring it back on the screen. Center it. All right, and now we want to align it back horizontally and vertically. All right, and now what I want you to do is I want you to move the button. So now that we got the blue lines, which means that everything's all good. Well, click on the button and try to drag it somewhere. So drag it somewhere and just release. All right, so now we have some warnings that popped up. So this is a different issue. And so when you click on the yellow arrow up here, the yellow and white arrow up here, it'll tell you something. It's gonna say, all right, so it says expected, expected the X to be 164 and the Y to be 318, but the actual is 76 by 376 right now, and that's not right. We set our constraint in the middle, vertically and horizontally, but all of a sudden it moves. So it's just warning us. It's telling us that something has changed. And so all you got to do now is hit this button down here, the refresh arrow. It says update frames. So if you hit this button, it'll pop back to where it's supposed to be. All right, cool. All right, guys. So I rambled on enough in this lesson. That's the end for now. But this is some very good practice. So I would try, if I were you guys, I would try to move some stuff around and just play around, with some auto layout type things. But stay tuned for more of the Ski channel. We're going to get more into some auto layout type things in the next few videos, and also stack views. This is St. R. Edwards with the Ski channel, Swift Coding for everyone. You guys take care.